Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to CRL for Tier 1. We are here for round 6 of Season 12, and tonight we are here at the Australian Grand Prix. Fan favourite to most people. Track is fast flowing and absolutely punishing if you get the track on as well. We're racing around here the Albert Park circuit, which was introduced in 1996 after Adelaide was shut down, with 5.3 kilometres and 14 corners and a bunch of DRX zones. So expect plenty of overtakes and possibly maybe a bit of chaos as well, because we see the DRS play all the time. Well, the drivers there trying to stay behind each other and go through later the last lap attacks, etc. One of those tracks that rewards confidence driving but punishes the smaller mistakes. One wrong move and your race can be over like that as well, because many times we've seen in the past where people get it slightly wrong and it has a big consequence to the race as well. It could be anywhere around this circuit because it's a high-speed track, and plus the walls are relatively close as well, and we've got some runoff areas, so we're very careful in terms of validations and also making less mistakes. But now we're heading to this round. Mercedes are in control with 173 points on the board and leading the constructors comfortably. Sahilou, who's leading the championship, has been on fire this season, super consistent, top finishes every week, and sits in the top of the standings with 140 points. Don't discount out for all, because they have a rough start to the season, but they bounced back thanks to Nathan and Jeroen Visser. They're double digits and holes in points the last few rounds have put them right back in title contention, as I believe Jeroen scored a podium in Spain and Nathan scored a podium recently as well. We've also got a tight battle for P3 between McLaren and Red Bull, with drivers like Kenny and Bobpia keeping things spicy as well. Bobpia, who's had about 3 wins this season, he is here tonight as well, is ILT Bobpia. But Bobpia is last on the track or nowhere to be seen sometimes, whether it's Qatar or elsewhere. He's always been excited to watch as Bobpia. Sometimes his performances can fluctuate. But I think the first driver then is going to be Jeroen Visser, and we'll see how he does then. And of course, the man that finished second place at, I think it was the Qatar Grand Prix. It was. And also, he finished in P1 of the Hungarian Grand Prix after getting his first win since Abu Dhabi last season, but he took away from Bobpia. But here we go then. Let's take you through a flying lap towards turn 1 and turn 2. Then comes at you very thick and fast as well, so no time to react there. It's full speed as we head down towards turn 3. Here we go. Let's look at the braking point. 100 meter point. Down to the gears once again. Into third. Clipping the apex on the throttle there. Now we get towards the left-hand side. Bring it in. Get on the throttle. Oh, look at that. Just exploits with the track limits there. Jeroen Visser giving absolutely everything as well. Even on the first laps, he's trying to utilise every single part of the racetrack. No quarter given, no margin left. Purple in the first sector, obviously, because it's the first one to go through the first sector. As we see Jeroen now power his way down this long back straight, headed down in towards 9 and 10, or turn 8 and 9, as we now go through the left-hander and right-hander. Constant change of direction, flicking in left and right, but I think Jeroen was slightly compromised in towards 9 and 10, I'm not quite sure, but we'll see then how it affects his lap time as we head down towards turn 11. The heavy braking zone once again, and this is awesome. We might see some overtaking depending what the situation is towards the last stage of the Grand Prix. If you can't get it done towards 9 and 10, there's always turn 11 to get the overtaking done. There is 4 DRS zones to play with as well, so how are you going to utilise them, and when are people going to strike, depending what the order is like towards in the Grand Prix. But it's qualified so far, and here comes Jeroen towards the line, and he goes P1 with a 15.9 then, and let's see if anybody can beat that. I think that's a decent lap time considering it's early doors in qualifying. AJ Ruhan has invalidated as Bobpia now displaces him. He goes up towards first place with a 15.8 as Glowstick settles behind into P3 there with a 16.0 then. So Bobpia is the pace sitter after trying to bounce back after a difficult few races, must be said, for RT Bobpia, because he's won quite a lot this season, but at the same time though, the consistency hasn't really been there. He's made a few mistakes along the way, has Bobpia, but we know a driver like Bobpia's caliber is very good at bringing his mistakes back and to a minimum as well, so if he can do it, then everyone can do it. He won the Spanish Grand Prix of course, but was out in Hungary. Not quite sure what happened to him there, because this race was over on the first lap, if you remember, because he picked up that 10-second time penalty as Cal invalidates in the middle sector then, as I'm hoping to go racing with him later on in the future as well, in June, and I can't wait to share the track with Cal in real life and not commentate. Jeroen, the other Jeroen, has invalidated as well, so fortunately that McLaren can't get a lap time on the board. But Kenny, interestingly, is P2 the championship, is ILT Kenny. He's always a quiet Finn, the silent Finn, the outlier who's always there, ready to make an impression, is ILT Kenny. 95 points, so he's essentially 90 points away from Sahilou in first place, because Sahilou had a terrible race back in Spain, just like he did a few seasons ago when he made contact with Chaza. It was the double right-hander, I think it was. But Kenny has a validator, I think I mentioned that, so we won't see him complete this lap time, although he's still using the battery there, which is quite interesting. And here's Jamie then, Obviously, a Tier 2 driver, of course. His highest finish was at P5 of the Australian Grand Prix, a P6 as well the race later, and a few P10s and a P11s and P8s as well. Jamie crosses the line. He goes up into P5 with a 16.8, but of course, he is a Division 2 driver, so don't expect much from him as he's trying to find his pace here in Division 1. Can be quite difficult as well with the overwhelming challenges that lies in front of you with the guys ahead. But here comes Nathan. Let's see what the Ferrari driver can do. I expect a lot from him, and he does go quickest with a 50.771. So, Ferrari on the top of the pecking order there. It is a Ferrari, Red Bull and Ferrari, first and third. And so far, Ferrari have been looking really good in the last few races as well. They're currently second in the championship, a few points behind Mercedes, 35 points behind. So can they bring that gap down? We know Kyle, the second driver, it must be said, has been struggling. So he hasn't really delivered a lot of points for Mercedes this season, but he's tried his absolute best. But you do need two cars in it to win the championship in the Constructors, as Max Verstappen knows, as they lost the championship Constructors in 2024 when Sergio Perez wasn't delivering. But here is the Red Bull driver of Henry then, the ILT man. He sets a 16.8, but he's not improving in the first sector, so he has going for in-lap, I think, is Henry. I always get Henry and Leon mixed up for some reason. Not quite sure why. But we know that Henry's very quick as well. I think Leon was the one that overtook Steve in the pit lane, wasn't he? Or was it Henry? I can't exactly remember. But yeah, I always get those two mixed up, even though they're two completely different names. But here is Hilly coming through the first sector then in towards turn 6, I believe it is. Now back to the throttle once again. This old chicane that used to be placed here, but it's got removed due to the modifications of this track. Of course, this track has been heavily modified to improve racing, and it has improved racing, it must be said. That chicane's gone, and a few corners are quicker as well as we head towards 9 and 10, where people used to struggle in the past, it must be said. We see like Timo Glock bounce over the year in the gravel, and we saw Ollie Behrman, I think the latest victim, to crash in towards turn 10. Felipe Massa crashed in qualifying, I think, on Saturday in F1 2013, or 2013, shall I say. But yeah, he crashed, and qualifying was moved to a Sunday because it was very wet indeed. And I think Vettel took pole ahead of Webber, but Webber had a KERS failure and dropped backwards. Here comes Hilly towards the line. He goes up into P7 behind Bosch Evans. No Australian driver, interestingly, has won around here in the past. And Oscar Piastri, who could have had a chance, but unfortunately misjudged the weather and got off the track in towards 13 and 14 and completely ruined his race there. Daniel Ricciardo did pick up a podium back in 2014, but his disqualification, unfortunately, gave the podium towards Magnussen and Button, a double McLaren podium as well. That was Button's last podium as well back in 2014 at the Australian Grand Prix, but Button, unfortunately, couldn't share his podium on the podium because of a post-race penalty afterwards as well. Sebastian Vettel retired from that race because it was a hybrid area, and we know that Mercedes power cars were very good as well. Bottas clipped the wall, I think, out of turn 8-9. The old chicane, and still finished home in P6 despite hitting the wall as well. So Mercedes power cars were quite good back then. We've had a Renault engine. I think you're monumentally screwed, especially with Sebastian Vettel and sometimes Daniel Ricciardo as well, with a torrid season. Sebastian Vettel coming off as a 4-time world champion, but didn't even pick up one win, which is a shame because I'm a massive Sebastian Vettel fan, and it was a massive didn't really affect me that much because it was Hamilton versus Rosberg era. But glow stick invalidates the exit of turn 5, also a place where we saw, I think, Kazuki Nakajima hit the wall in 2008, and Sebastian Vettel as well back in 2022, was it? When he didn't have many laps on the board because of a problem in qualifying and practice. But yeah, glow stick unfortunately invalidates as well on the exit of turn 5, and I think a few people then, that's another place where a lot of people get caught out as well, as majority of drivers are on the laps once again, going for their second run. So let's see then who can improve on their second runs. Nathan currently occupies first place, with Hilu sitting behind in P2 with ILT Bobpierre in third place there. And first to third separated by under a tenth of a second there. It's this super fine margin between those guys at the top of the field there at the end game. But here comes Giroud then flying towards 1 and 2, where Valtteri Bottas crashed in 2018 because he won 1 year later, didn't he? But here comes Giroud down in towards turn 3. He goes in fourth gear, gets a bit wide there, so might compromise him a little bit. Does he back off? I think he still keeps going. He does keep going then as he uses the overtaker button on the exit of turn 5 there. As we sweep through these corners, just want to keep it nice and smooth, just a nice sweep of direction there. No multiple adjustments on the steering. But unfortunately, Yuri Visser has invalidated the lap time there on the exit of turn number 8 then. And I think, well, that is the most painful. It's this fast flowing corner. want to use all the track on the outside, but obviously going to be very careful as well. Jeroen was up in the middle sector by a tenth of a second there, but it won't count. I think he's just driving back to get in the pit lane because obviously he's not saving tyres, he's not saving battery either. Maybe he doesn't even know he's invalidated. But here we go then. Nathan JB up in the first sector by a tenth of a second there, approximately, as we now head towards the end of the sector on the Lake of Australia. As we now go towards the end of the sector, it's his 400s up, so I lost a bit of time to Nathan JB in the middle sector, but Nathan's pace in the last few races has been quite surprising. He's been one to watch out for. I think every single season Nathan's been a competitor, but obviously not unlike other people where the consistency is just not there. Sometimes get caught up in first lap incidents. I remember in the past as well. Oh, you almost spun the car. Nice saves. Kyle goes quickest. It's a 50.677. And the man that's been struggling down this season puts the Mercedes on pole unexpectedly as well. So well done to Kyle to potentially get his first provisional pole of the season. But we know others out there might be improving. Bobpier is, but Bobpier invalidates on the exit of turn 11 there. And I wonder where Jeroen is. Jeroen did not go into pit lane interestingly, so he's still out there. Low fuel as well, lack of ERS. Jamie goes up into P9 in the Racing Bull. AJ Wuhan is not on a flying lap. Kenny down in P16 though has invalidated too, unfortunately, for the McLaren driver. I think Kenny got caught up in the first lap incident last season, if I remember correctly. Did he spin the exit of turn 1 or was that somebody else? But yeah, Kenny unfortunately not gone well around here in Australia. I think I remember who was it got taken out? Was it Seb and Tony who made contact last season? Because we had 3-4 safety cars, but that was competition with Scott Dodds. Nelly Safu won the Grand Prix. Nelly Safu, who was, Kenny there, what's he doing? Goes off the track, does the McLaren driver, but 4-star is still in the pit lane. Yeah, Diddy says 4-star should drive at one point, but he's still in the pit lane then, just waiting for the track to rubber in and save a set of soft compound tyres just in case any late safety cars do appear on the circuit. But the guys ahead, Sahilu is down in the first sector by 12 hundredths of a second there, but can make it back up in the middle, although it's just a long straight. Because if you remember in 2023, where Williams had the best middle sector because of their straight line speed, so basically out of turn 8 is just a little straight there, going from turn 8 to turn 9. So you can't really find time there, unless of course something dramatic happens. But here we go, down towards 11, the biggest breaker zone. Let's see how he does. Clips the curves nicely there, rise them over as we now head towards turn 12. This is flat hander where it used to be a lift off, but now it's flat out in these in this game. But Sahilu there, the back end of the car, wanted to complain as he steps on the loud pedal for the final corner. DRS is enabled. Can Sahilu take pole away from his teammate? He crossed the line. He can't take pole. It's a 50.826, and he does improve, but not on his previous best there. He does improve on his previous best, but not his position. That's what I want to say. I got the words out there. But Dory, of course, coming through turn 5 now in the Aston Martin. Aston Martin currently down in P8 in the championship with 41 points behind Alpine, with Sauber not too far behind, separated by 2 points there. No, Aston Martin haven't really had a strong showing, although Bosch Evans showed some promises back at the Hungarian Grand Prix, but I think he spun. I'm not quite sure. I don't want to guess just in case I was wrong there. But Dory is up in the middle sector by 300 of a second there. The German driver then progressing through turn 9 and turn 10 as we now go down in towards the biggest breaker zone. We saw Mark Webber, didn't we? And Lewis Hamilton crash, I think, back in 2010 there. And Hamilton wasn't very happy with his strategy back in 2010 because he felt like the tyres he was on at the time was still a good race tyre, and the team called him into the pits, and Jenson Button was the one to win the Grand Prix as well. After Mercedes returned it back, it was a rain-affected race, but Jenson Button called the strategy right. Button's won about 3 races here in Australia. I think 2009 in the Brawn, 2010 in the McLaren, and 2012 in the McLaren as well. So Button's gone well around here. His last podium was actually here in Australia, like I mentioned earlier on, in 2014. But obviously he didn't start on the podium because Ricciardo did due to a fuel problem, I think, or lack of fuel, not quite sure. But yeah, what a shame for Ricciardo because he just couldn't seem to get a podium since then. Obviously, I think 2017 did he spin out in qualifying or the race or practice, and he had to start all the way at the back, and he retired, I think, in the Grand Prix. 2016 didn't really have a competitive Red Bull car, did he, to get up there in the podium in the first race of the season. But 2015 was a shocker as well. And Danny Kvyat didn't even start the 2015 Australian Grand Prix because I think Oscar Piastri was supposed to be the grid person for Danny Kvyat, but interestingly, Danny Kvyat never made the grid, so Oscar Piastri there didn't have a driver waiting for him. As Bobpier then swoops through turn 2. I'm not quite sure where Ricciardo finished on that day. I think he still finished around 4th or 5th place ahead of Massa, but behind Vettel. I think it was Hamilton, Rosberg, and Vettel that day, with Massa in fourth and Ricciardo in fourth. But Bonpierre then, look at that, tackling the track, carrying his speed through, nice and consistent, nice and smooth on the steering, as you want it to be. And look at that, his reward is a 10th up in the first set. Oh! Bonpierre just invalidates there. That's the most painful invalidation there. You just got to find the right balance between... Yeah, it's just so frustrating, that corner. You're just on the absolute knife edge. Make-up brake corner, that is, turn 8. It's a fast-flowing corner, which has been modified back in 2022 to make it go quicker. But Bonpierre just stepped out of line there, and unfortunately that lap time has been ruined. I would have loved to see what he could have done. But Kyle so far is still on provisional pole then, so what an amazing job from the Mercedes driver. I wonder how long he can stay there for, because you've got other people breathing down his neck. The problem is, though, these people do have the pace. Anybody can take the pole around here, but the problem is, though, is hooking up the lap. The absolute limit to get that lap time. These drivers could do it, but practice is one thing, qualifying's another. And the qualifying, obviously, more pressure involved as well. The time's on your shoulders, and the pressure to deliver as well, those perfect lap times. Even though you could be quicker in practice, qualifying's the main race, or the main session. And it's all about who can soak up the pressure, who can find and extract the most out of their lap time without putting a foot wrong. Lose the back of the car. But watching Kyle now as he takes us around the tour of the 5.2 kilometre Australian Grand Prix as we head down the main straight. Can Kyle extend the bar once again as we see him go down towards turn 1 and turn 2? We see many, of course, the first lap collisions around the Australian Grand Prix, I think 2002 and 3, and also back in 2010 as well. We've seen a few first lap collisions, and 2009 as well, as Kyle makes his way towards 3, 4, 5. We go, takes it very nicely, carrying the speed through as we head towards this flat corner 6 where Robbie Kubica and Sebastian Vettel crashed back in 2009, and Kyle is up in the first sector by a 10th of a second there. Is the Mercedes driver as he used the battery he has left. So Kyle is absolutely flying around Phillip Island, around Melbourne. Hilly goes quickest. It's a 50.635, and he unexpectedly takes pole away from Kyle. But Kyle is improving in the middle sector, so he wants to snatch away pole from the Racing Bull driver. But what's a lap time there from the Racing Bull? It came out of nowhere. He made his debut back at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and he finished around the top 6 as Bonpierre across the line to go up into P2. They just missed that pole by about 7,000 per second there. But Kyle, oh no! There's a Ferrari in the way, and who was that Ferrari? Kyle has it validated there, but Nathan a bit dawdling on there on the racing line. Come on, Nathan. But here we go then. Nathan JB will start his flying lap, and Kyle will be absolutely impeded by that. And what a shame for Kyle, because I think the car in the way distracted him. It may not be in the way, but it's enough to distract somebody, because you don't know what they're going to do. But Nathan was dawdling there, so that could be an investigation after the qualifying session in the race. But Kyle, he should have taken pole, but unfortunately just the Ferrari in the way, a bit of a sabotage there, a bit of a roadblock for him. But what about the other Mercedes? Where is he so far? Here is Sahilou, a 10th up or 2 in the middle sector or first, as we now head towards the back straight. Now coming towards the end of the middle sector. Can Sahilou take pole once again? The championship leader up by 2.5 tenths of a second here, as Sahilou is absolutely flying. So one Mercedes got denied, but the other Mercedes can prevail as he heads down in towards turn 11 to go. The heavy braking zone is keeping nice and tidy there. Very easy to look up the front as well. I think Yuri Vizza has gone up into P5 in the Ferrari. Not many improvements for people, but I expect to see a big improvement from Sahilou. Henry's up into P7, as here comes Sahilou around the final corner. He goes then, navigated all 14 corners really well, and what's his reward as he makes his way towards the line? He goes, it's pole with a 55.52, and that's an amazing lap time there for Sahilou to put it back on pole ahead of Hilly, Bonpierre and Kyle then. So that was a very interesting qualifying session, but we've got Nathan yet to cross the line. Nathan goes up into P2 with a 15.613, and he puts that Ferrari on the front row of the grid. Nathan's got some good pace as well. He's shown glimpses of brilliance throughout this season. But it's going to be a very interesting battle towards the front, because Sahilou's consistency has been amazing, although Spain did let him down last race. But let's see what he has to deliver here. Ferrari, I think, getting a lot more points than Mercedes in Spain. Only by 8, though. The gap is 35 points. And there is 4 races left to go, including this one. We've got Australia, we've got Miami, we've got Las Vegas, and the Belgian Grand Prix left. So it's a short calendar, as you expect. But who can get the crown here in Australia? the main important thing is I'm intrigued to see what the race is going to be like, because look at that. First to fourth, separated by under a tenth of a second. That's how close it is. Kyle should have been there in the mix. Bosch Evans, a great qualifying session for him. 1,000s quicker than Yavoon Vezza. Yavoon, I expected more from him. And Henry's up into P8 ahead of Glowstick. Kenny, P2 in the championship is P10. And Jamie in P11 ahead of AJ, Dari, Yavoon, 4-star and Hobbsy. The two kick salvers occupying the back row. So just pretty much summing up what happens in real life then. No, I'm only kidding, But this Australian Grand Prix race has definitely delivered us some fantastic action in the past as well. I think Adelaide was the race before Melbourne, wasn't it? And it got switched over to Melbourne as the race opener. But it stopped being a race opener after 2020 because it got cancelled in 2020. And Bahrain was the season opener. I didn't mind Bahrain in Australia, but obviously Australia has a more, how do I put it, a more of electrifying atmosphere, it must be said. It's always a good place to start a season opener. I don't mean any offence to Bahrain, but you know what I mean. Australia's a good place to start, of course. And it's traditionally as well been the first race of the season. I know 2010, it was the Bahrain outer layout that had the rights for the first race of the season, and the outer layout was absolutely disgusting. But yeah, of course, it returned back in 1996, where I think Jack Villeneuve nearly won on debut, but it was his teammate that Damien Hill took the victory because Jack Villeneuve had a oil leak as well during the Grand Prix. So Damien Hill, who won the championship in 96 as well, and of course Martin Brundle's spectacular crash at turn 3 in lap 1 shocked fans, but he walked away despite that massive shunt. And also, not the first time we've seen that so far, in turn 3 in 2016, where Fernando Alonso has endured a massive crash against Esteban Gutierrez at the time, the Mexican driver who was in the Haas and the Sauber. And Fernando Alonso jumped at the car because he knew his mum was watching. Formation lap is on, so we could continue to talk about the history of this track. But yeah, I really do enjoy this track. Of course, 2025 Australian Grand Prix definitely showed us some fantastic battles and entertainment, and showed the caliber of the drivers as well to keep it on the track and choose the right strategies, except Ferrari, of course, which they always have a blunderous strategy. But yeah, 2016 when Fernando Alonso went over the top of Esteban Gutierrez, and when he returned back in Bahrain, I think Johnny Herbert and Fernando Alonso had a bit of a clash, didn't they? Then, of course, in 2024, when Fernando Alonso and George Russell had a bit of a moment together, shall I say, Herbert gave Fernando Alonso a 10-second time penalty, didn't he, after the Grand Prix? But yeah, that was a very strange one indeed from Johnny Herbert, maybe holding a grudge against Alonso since 2016. Of course, Johnny Herbert, for those who don't know, censored about Alonso, and Alonso says you should continue being a TV commentator or pundit or something like that. And I don't think Johnny Herbert took any, didn't take any offence to that, what he did, but he used to be a Sky Sports F1 commentator, pundit, same with Damien Hill, but they're both gone now. But of course, down towards turn 1, we see some massive crashes. We saw with Ralf Schumacher when he launched over the back of Rubens Barrichello, and 8 more cars followed too, but David Coulthard went on to win and survive the race. Then of course we saw Lewis Hamilton go around the outside of Fernando Alonso in his first race and defeated him as well, or defended him, as we saw Jenson Button took a historic win in Brawn as Barrichello finished 1-2. There was also a big scrap going down towards turn 1. I think it was Hickey Kovalainen and Mark Webber and a few other people got involved. And also 2010 as well, where we saw that first lap crash between Schumacher, Button and Alonso, as I think Button still went on to win the Grand Prix. But here we go then, 16 drivers line up on the grid, and we'll find out what this race has for us in store. Don't go anywhere, because it should be a good one. We look ahead to the lights then. Lights above the panels. Look, but never stare. And we are underway. It is foot to the floor here in Australia. I want to tell the camera angle, but look at the hill. It gets a lovely start. Nathan has been shuffled into P4, P5. Carroll goes around the outside again towards turn 1. The Red Bull and Mercedes side by side, but it's Aston Martin. He's made contact and he's fallen down the order. That is Bosch Evans there, and he tried to the inside line, but there was no room, unfortunately, as Bosch Evans has rejoined. Down in P14 for the Aston Martin driver. Glowstick and Henry are side by side. In the corner we go, in towards 3 and 4. Now let's see which one of these two get ahead. But I think the Red Bull driver has the racing line and he gets ahead of glow stick for the time being into P7 then. So Nathan dropped backwards there. I wonder what happened, because it looked like Nathan just got an absolute terrible start. Whether the lights went off early for him or not, I'm not quite sure, because I think there's a glitch in this game where the host has to stay behind for a few seconds. No, I think Bob is the host, so he is the one that's got to watch out for the lights as well. But it seems like a clean stop, everybody except for Bosch Evans there. We got caught for the first lap, but of course it's so tight going down towards turn 1. There's a few cars. Oh, who's that got off the road? Is that Dory? Dory's crashed where Sebastian Vettel did, and Ollie Behrman. And Dory there rejoins on the circuit in P16, so I wonder if that's the case, of just sliding around in towards 8 and 9. I don't think he made contact with anybody there, so I think he lost it by himself, and he rejoins in P16. The German driver, of course, who's been in this league for quite a while now, as he still shows his commitment every week. So that's the main important thing there for Dory. Hopefully he can bounce back on the next game. Not quite sure how much effort he puts into this game, but it is Sahilou then, the championship leader ahead of Hilly, and Bob Pierre P3. So these guys are getting so close now to each other, with the DRS of course, as Henry is the second back, so he'll be looking to try and claw his way back in, as he wants to do that very quickly, because if he doesn't, he'll lose the DRS towards the top 6. And when you lose the DRS, oh my god, it's just so painful. He's just in no man's land, but he's clinging on. Maybe use the battery there to try and get closer. But look at Bob here. He's right at the back of the RB's tail, and now possibly land up a move. And here we go then, as they both should have DRS on the back of Sahilou, but Bob Pierre seems to have better straight line speed and better confidence in his car, and the Red Bull driver says thank you very much, I'm going to swoop past and take P2, and now I'm going to focus on Sahilou then. Bob Pierre, of course, has won 3 races this season. Sahilou versus Bob Pierre for the first time this season. It should be very interesting, because they've not really been close together on track, but of course they've had their issues elsewhere. As we head down in towards 11 then, both Ferraris are close together. Sometimes the two Ferraris can get a bit too close for comfort back in Bahrain. It went terrible for them, because both of them lost their end plates after being in a good position, but they bounced back in Qatar with a 1-2. And Nathan wasn't very happy with Jeroen, was he, towards the last, in Qatar, or shall I say Bahrain. But Kenny's out of the race. Kenny has retired out of this Grand Prix in the final corner there, and he's crashed very bizarrely as well, so I wonder what happened there. Just plain lost traction at the exit of the final corner, and that's him at the Grand Prix. Oh, poor Kenny. Had bad luck, didn't he, at the Australian Grand Prix last season, because I think he spun himself out, or made contact, but I can't remember which one it was, but it was definitely him that got involved in some sort of chaos there in the last race of the season, or last Australian Grand Prix this season. But he is at the Grand Prix now, and leaving Jeroen in 14th place to try and score some points for McLaren, because I know McLaren are quite further down in the championship, although Kenny is P2 in the Drivers' Championship. So virtual safety car, I don't think the safety car has been deployed, or has it? Is there a yellow dot on the screen? Because sometimes it can be misleading and deceiving, because whenever a virtual safety car comes out, it's sometimes a safety car, but it's due to the how bad the crash is. But I think the car was swept up immediately, and I think we should get racing once again then. So of course your race distance is increased by 40%. The virtual safety car, of course, was introduced in 2015, and the man that caused the first virtual safety car was Max Verstappen when he crashed into the wall at turn 1 trying to overtake Pastor Maldonado. And now that caused a problem for the race, didn't it? Because Lewis Hamilton pitted under the VSC, lost 2 places. Rosberg and Sebastian Vettel got ahead, and Hamilton lost the race, and he was not happy whatsoever, was he? But the DRS has been enabled then as we get racing on the final corner, so that's quite convenient there for Sahilou. But we go racing once again here in Australia after a short neutralisation in this Grand Prix. Foot to the floor, flat out once again as we head down towards turn 1. So Bob Pierre looking very racy so far on the Red Bull, after having his problems previously as well. Bounced back in Spain to win the Grand Prix, of course, ahead of Nathan and Kenny, who's got a podium. Kenny's got 2 podiums in a row, back in Hungary and at the Spanish Grand Prix, but we'll make it a triple due to his invalidations and retirements as well, unfortunately. And Bosch Evans gets ahead of Hobbs. They tried to make up for some lost ground. He's up there in P11, but quite far behind his train then, as glow stick is just barely on the back of the train of these guys as well. But look at this. Both Ferraris, they're close together. I wonder how these two are going to work together as the DRS is enabled on both Ferraris. Here comes the Red Bull, and here comes the Ferraris then. Let's see what happens going in towards 8 and 9. And here comes Nathan all the way around the outside, but surely not. Goes a bit deep in the corner. Will Giroud get a switch back in a better exit? He can't, but might do on the exit of turn 9. Heading in towards now, in towards this, right, how do we go? The heavy braking zone, Giroud down the inside towards 11. Does get a move stick. His teammates trying to defend, but he loses traction to Giroud, and Nathan does get ahead. He doesn't, but Giroud then muscles his way past into P5. like I said, you don't want to be fighting too hard, especially in the early stage of the Grand Prix, because if you lose that DRS, then it's going to be a massive problem. But Glowstick has been benefiting from that battle because the guys ahead slowing each other down has allowed Glowstick and Co and Jamie to get themselves back in the battle. As we should see a big battle there, but Jeroen Visser is losing touch towards Kyle there. Jeroen Visser is pushing the boundary of the track there as well at the exit of turn 2, so he may have picked up a warning for that one. As we see a Red Bull and Henry, they're quite close towards Nathan as we head down towards turn number 4 we go, or 3. I wonder if Jeroen might be a bit frustrated there with the battle with Nathan JB, and he's trying to push as hard as he can to keep in that DRS range. It's so important as well, keeping the DRS range. It's pivotal for any race except Monaco. Nobody needs to stay in the DRS range there because it's hard to overtake. But here we go then. Glowstick hits the first one in the field to get a second time penalty then, so he's been exposed to chat limits, hasn't he? But here we go on the back straight again. And Sahilo remains in P2. Kyle's in a good spot as well to make this a double Mercedes podium and extend the championship, whilst both Ferraris in the background. Jeroen Visser skates off the track there, and he may have picked up another warning, but Sahilo then retakes the lead of the Grand Prix as we head down towards turn 1. Goes a bit deep in the corner, but still makes it as he stays in the lead for the Grand Prix for the time being. And Hilly is surviving in P3 because Kyle is mounting the pressure, mounting the charge. And who's that going to go down the inside? Is that Henry? I thought for 1 second Henry might get Nathan JB, but might do because it seems like Nathan's struggling a bit as well. He is struggling, and Henry's on the back of him. So here we go then. We don't really see many places, don't really see many overtakes in towards turn 1, but Henry does back out of it wisely as well. In turn 1, you want to be fully alongside and ahead. You don't want to go to wheels running towards turn 1 because you just lose yourself a horrendous amount of time. There's no point doing that as we head down towards turn 3 with Henry then looking to get past the 2 Ferraris, but stuck there for the time being. Of course, the Red Bull driver Henry, who took part in the Austrian Grand Prix, and he was on a charge to win the Grand Prix, but unfortunately made a mistake on the last lap. But Kyle is mounting the pressure on Hilly, so let's see what happens then. Can the Mercedes get himself on the podium for the first time this season? We're about to find out. Here we go with the DRS wide open, and Kyle just simply walks past the RB. No defensive shape thrown from the RB driver. I wonder if he's lacking battery. He isn't really lacking battery in comparison to Kyle, but look at Bob Pierre, who saved up a lot as well. So Bob Pierre is quite sufficient in terms of saving his battery there. Used it at the right time and used it for the long-term game. But Nathan JB is struggling, and here comes Henry down the inside again. Let's see if Henry gets the move stick. Nathan shows him off the track as Nathan JB then remains in P6. But that battle has cost him dearly, and the Aston Martin in the background of Dory has gone for a little bit of a spin there, but rejoins the circuit. At least he's still going now. But he might give up because he's quite far behind. But the DRS wide open again, as we see the Red Bull driver in the background look to take on Nathan. Maybe a 1 lap too late, but he's finally got ahead of the Ferrari driver, who seems to be detached from his train, who seems to lose the pace now. For whatever reason, we're quite sure what happened to Nathan. Ever since the lights went out, Nathan got bogged down and losing places left, right, and centre. And now Glowstick is trying to hunt around the outside there, taking away the place, but Nathan JB makes the car as wide as he can and stays there in P7. But the battle towards the top is electrifying because you got the Mercedes, Red Bull versus Mercedes there. So both Mercedes can play their cards right, and also Kyle and Sahilo know each other very well. They've been in FRL together for quite a long time. But look at this, change in leadership, change in places. We've got Jeroen ahead of Hilly, we've got Bob Pierre ahead of Sahilo, as Bob Pierre now in the Red Bull takes the lead of the Grand Prix then. But of course Mercedes have the strategy in their cars. They've got the bragging rights with both Mercedes in P2 and P3. Bob Pierre, a lone wolf in first place there. Left to fight out against both Mercedes unless Henry can catch up. But Henry's been compromised by Nathan because Nathan now goes back around the outside in towards turn 11. Now up into P6 he goes as that little trio is fighting amongst themselves. However, Jamie, a lap ago, pitted. Didn't quite see why or what happened to him, but he's pitted onto about the same medium compound tyres. I'm quite sure if the Racing Bull driver had any damage or not, but he's in P14 as Hilly's right behind Bob Pierre, but he's not going to go for it surely. Just saving the battery there, trusting Kyle not to make any sort of dive bomb towards turn number 1, but he's left himself exposed towards Jeroen because he got a bit of a compromise exit at turn 1, and here comes no way, but you're about to say he does stay behind the Red Bull driver for the time being then. Just thinking about the long-term game in this Grand Prix, it's like chess, just placing your pieces on the board before you can hit checkmate. But yeah, both Mercedes there definitely have the upper hand against Red Bull, but of course one of those two drivers have to sail longer than the extra. I think the guy in second place, or the first out of those two, will get the preferred choice, unless, of course, the guy behind wants to do the cut. But here comes the flying Ferrari of Yavoun. He takes off, but look at this! It's a triple overtake! Yavoun Visser in the lead! What a fantastic move from Yavoun Visser! His strength and speed was fantastic. He came out of nowhere from 4th to 1st. Fantastic! And here comes Sahilo around the outside in towards 11th, but he spins the car! He spun it! Oh no! Sahilo has dropped the back end of the car. Dramatic. Absolutely dramatic scenes in the space of a few quarters as well. Yavoun Visser out of nowhere came from 4th to 1st. Overtook both Mercedes at one go, overtook Bompier, another Dutchman leads the Grand Prix, and Bompier is right behind as well in the Ferrari, in the Red Bull. But Bompier versus Yavoun Visser, the two Dutchmen that went head to head back in Abu Dhabi. And they both crossed the line at the same point, but I think Yavoun won the race on countback. I'm not quite sure how it all works, as they see the Hilly, right behind Kyle Scarrett. So now the faith lies in the Mercedes of Kyle there to gain the most amount of points. Sahilo has been dropped into P7, unfortunately for the Mercedes driver. I remember Sahilo finished P3 behind GVR, QVR, Russell and Sweet Crown. Sahilo was in P3 on the auto strategy, but he couldn't get him. But here comes Bompier then back for the lead of the Grand Prix. Or does he? Nope, he just waits behind. He does have the DRS wide open, but I wonder if he goes through it right now. He does, of course, not sacrificing any battery there. He doesn't need to use any unnecessary amount of battery. Trying to stop as much as he can as well. Of course, there's one detection point for 2 DRS zones, just like in Canada, just like in Mexico and elsewhere. Can't think of the top of my head. And Hungary as well. That's another one where one detection point for 2 DRS zones. Did I say Mexico? If I didn't say Mexico, Mexico as well. But 20 laps left to go in the Grand Prix. And it's a battle between the top 4. Can the Red Bull of Henry catch up? The gap is 2.1. So I think that Henry and Nathan now might... perfect timing. I was about to say Henry might be focused on the undercut, and he has. So lap 10 out of 29 then. It should be a chain reaction. He's going to go on the hardcore powered tyres to take the ward in the Grand Prix. Is that hard? Yeah, it is. I thought I saw yellow there, but it must have been the glare from the sunlight. But now he's on the hardcore powered tyres. So the train reaction will start to happen as well with these guys following in very shortly. I think that was a wise decision for, I think, the Red Bull driver of Henry to go for the undercut, because he had no choice really. His choices were just lose more time towards the guys in front, knowing these guys got DRS, or try and fight with Nathan, lose even more time. So the best thing to do is pit around lap 10. The hard compound tyres could go towards the end, but may have to pay a little bit of a price. Not too much though, because other guys might have better hard compound tyres. It comes to you, and here comes Yavoun. Level pegging in towards A9 we go, but Bompier stays ahead as Nathan gets ahead of Sahilo. And puts him into P5. Oh, Sahilo there, what a massive shame. One small mistake had a massive implications for this race, and he's dropped into P6. Well and truly out of the fights now for the lead of the Grand Prix, even a podium, because it's a long way to come back through. It's a long way to come back through there as well in 6th place, especially with the gap of 2.9. But somebody has dropped it. Is that Dory again for the 3rd time? I think it is. The German driver off the track in towards A9. Let me get going once again as Yavoun Visser then right behind. So none of these guys are going for the pits just yet. So elongated their first in the medium compound tyres, trying to get the best tyre life towards the end and have the good piece tyre on the hards. And we know that's Henry. Had no other choice but to go for the undercut, but the Aston Martin driver once again causing yellow flags out there, which might spook a few drivers or might advantage a few drivers, but no safety car being deployed as Bosch Evans gets ahead of Hobbsy. He puts himself into P10 defending from the Sauber driver. As we see Jamie now on the back of these two. Jamie on a better medium compound tyre in towards 3. Can Jamie get ahead of Hobbsy? He can. He puts himself into P11 right behind Bosch Evans then. Of course, I think Bosch Evans might be defenceless with the... Henry gets a 3-second time penalty. That's him in the background, pressurising Hobbsy. So just exploited challenges there. Another driver to pick up a penalty around here in Australia. Quite easy to do so as well. That turn 8 section is brutal, but look at this then. Ferrari versus Red Bull again as Yavoun gets back ahead. I can't wait to see what happens last few laps, because these two are going to go hammer and tongs throughout the whole race. And it's going to be absolutely mighty to watch as well, like we saw in Abu Dhabi, because I think these two worked well together in Abu Dhabi, because I was there in P3 and I was using these two for DRS, trying to keep the guys behind at bay, but I picked up that penalty and rage quit. But these two did work well together back in Abu Dhabi. Then they fought it out on the last lap of the Grand Prix as somebody once again has caused a yellow flag down. It is a virtual safety car as Sahilo's in the pit lane. Sahilu has pitted then onto the hardcore power tyres. Get out right now. That's a bit of a delay, isn't it? Was that real life or a bit of a delay in general? I'm not quite sure. But who does this benefit then? Will it benefit Sahilu? If the virtual safety car ends now, maybe. What's the gap to leader? Let's have a look at that, shall we? Oh, gap to leader, 90.20 seconds. What's the pit lane loss around here in Australia? I'm not quite sure, but could Sahilu? I don't know. Bit much of an ask, really. The virtual safety car needs to end right now, but it's not a VSC. A safety car has been deployed. And for those thinking, how do you know that? Look at your bottom of the screen there on the right side. There's a yellow car. Where's the green car going towards turn 1? He's past the yellow car. In fact, why don't I just show you? There's the safety car on the left-hand side, ready to pick up the drivers then. And now we've got a safety car being thrown into the mix then. So Sahilu pitted, but we'll see then. Is going to disadvantage. Who's this going to disadvantage? I think AJ and Jeroen, because they're on the hardcore power tyres. The tyres, of course, they originally started on. The top 5 go to hardcore power tyres, same glow stick. I think these guys, they should comfortably get ahead of Sahilu. They shouldn't have no problem getting ahead. Although the Alpine in the background now had a bit of a mistake, didn't he? Was that AJ? He slowed down a bit in the turn 11 corner, but right then, a neutralisation in this Grand Prix as we see the guys into the pit lane for their first mandatory stops. It is a one-stop race, so I need to go. I actually haven't read the calendar, so let me go check what the acronyms for this one is, what the rules are. Is this a normal race? Yep, it's a normal race then, so no extra stop involved or double header, whatever. But where does Sahilu rejoin? Didn't really benefit him, did he? But what it did benefit him because he's brought back into the train. Can he jump a few guys? He can. Sahilu is ahead of Jamie, but of course, yeah, the guys, yeah. So he's back into P5 then, and yeah, he's back in contention for the leader Grand Prix. So still there. Hasn't been dropped just yet from this Grand Prix. A second grace in glory for Sahilu. Another bite to the cherry for the Mercedes driver who dropped it at the exit of turn 11. But now I can settle down as Jeroen, Bonpierre and Kyle, the top 3 in this Grand Prix. Kyle's done a very good job as well. His consistency has been better here. As I talked about him, need to score points for the constructors battle between Ferrari and Mercedes. And he's done a massive job so far. And starting, I know he struggled in the last few races, must be said, adapted towards the game, although the game is coming towards the cycle, but Kyle is still lead racing since what, a long time ago. We know that Kyle and Sahilu were together. So the safety car has came out. And it's spicing things up. It could shake things up to be in a bigger way, but whatever the gaps the leaders had, it's gone now, and the field would jump back together, and the strategy is wide open. Drivers who have already stopped might be feeling a bit nervous, like Sahilu, but he hasn't really lost too much time, has he? It benefited him because he's brought back into play. But yes, everybody now is back in contention for each other. Jeroen is on the softcore hard tyres, but of course I don't think he'd take them towards the end, unless of course he might go to pit lane this lap and go to the hards. That's what people do sometimes to avoid the other tyre. The pit lane got very busy with a few drivers making tough decisions here, especially the guys on the hardcore hard tyres originally, because those guys on the hards had to go to mediums, and that is AJ. I think another person went to the mediums. That's 4-star, yeah. So that's the disadvantage while starting the hardcore hard tyres, because you just pray that a safety car doesn't come out. Who's that in the pit lane? That's Jeroen, like I said. But yeah, you just hope and pray that a safety car don't come out while she's on the hardcore power tyres. That's one of my biggest fears, because of course the hardcore power tyres would have stretched them a long way in the Grand Prix. And your biggest fear is safety cars, really, because that could really destroy people's strategies. And even though it's not their fault, you're going to be wary sometimes of the possibilities of a safety car appearing. I know you want to split the strategies. I know you start to way further down, so you want to obviously choose to different other people, but starting the medium compound tyres, in my opinion, is always the best way to go, unless I've Silverstone or the Dutch GP on the softs. But yeah, that's the consequence you pay. And I paid those consequences before as well, because I was doing quite well on the hard compound tyres. The safety car came out too early, and I got very screwed. I got screwed monumentally as well on the medium compound tyres. The tyres were just dead. And they made it towards the end, but like 80%, just worn off a cliff, had no grip on them whatsoever. Here we go, the safety car is coming in towards the end of this lap then. We resume racing once again, and we should see the fireworks kick off once again. And Yavoon will lead them away in P1. Bonpierre rides his tail in second place, and Kyle sitting in third place there, ready to pounce at any given moment. This is it, the calm before the storm. The tyres are cold, the nerves are high, and it's very crucial to get the absolute best restart. Cat-like reactions. Eyes on Yavoon. When will he go? Possibly towards... When will he go actually? 14? Next to the final corner? But yes, Yavoon Visser then becomes the de facto safety car leader, and he can decide when to go, of course. But the one thing he must not do is brake, accelerate, and that's what causes pile-ups sometimes, especially in F2 as well. We saw those pile-ups back in Azerbaijan, and we saw what happened in Mugello in 2020 when all those guys at the back crashed as they thought the race was going on. But here we go then. Can Yavoon get a good restart? As Yavoon Visser floors it out of the final corner. We're about to green in Melbourne. Bonpierre's in the slipstream. Kyle's watching closely in third place there behind Bonpierre. It's a clean restart so far, but the fight is on. Let's see what happens going down towards turn. The race is truly live once again. So, moves being made or lost actually. Some people dropping down the order. That's Glowstick. Glowstick is dropping down the order. So Hilly's right at the back of Hilly as we head down towards turn 3. A late breaking move there from the Mercedes driver. Jamie is up into P6, but of course on those older medium compound tyres. We see a battle between Bosch Evans, Glowstick, and the two Salvers there. Bosch Evans gets ahead of one Salver, as the other Salver of 4-star has been overtaken by Glowstick. Oh, Bosch Evans there, flirting with the curb on the outside, which could have easily put him off balance and into the wall. But what's happened to Nathan? So Nathan JB has lost an end plate. What's with it with Nathan JB losing end plates? He's lost so many end plates this year. It's just unbelievable. Just can't seem to keep an end plate on the front wing there. Keeps disappearing. That could be the downfall of him this season. The main talking points of him lose his end plates. So Bosch Evans then will be desperate to get past Nathan, not to get held up in those critical corners, maybe do it down towards 11 before he loses that DRS towards the guys ahead. But he's still got to get past because Nathan's straight line speed will be better, but Bosch Evans does tap the back of him. He's desperate to get past of Nathan JB. It's so frustrating when somebody in front of you has damage and you're caught up in the worst possible places, as Bosch Evans there wants to go down the inside, but thinks better of it. As Nathan JB then does pile off in the pit lane, but the damage is already done with those guys behind because they put the DRS already, unfortunately, there. So that's Bosch Evans there, had to pay the price. Nathan JB picked up a penalty, and Yavoon Visser has got a 3-second time penalty. Kyle has got a penalty too, so two of them have got a penalty on the second corner. Can you believe it? So I wonder if team orders now are implemented for Kyle and Sahilo. Sahilo has been brought back into this race after spinning out in turn 11 here, but maybe now the two Mercedes will swap places to give Sahilo the best chance of getting Bonpierre and Yavoon Visser there. So Yavoon unfortunately getting a penalty this race, which is going to cost him dearly towards the end of the Grand Prix. No how penalties can have a massive effect, but majority of people in this race are picking up penalties as well. It's all about who can pick up the least, and here comes Bonpierre for the Grand Prix. But what about the both Mercedes there? What are both Mercedes going to do? Because Sahilo's just stuck behind Kyle. Kyle's 7 tenths away, and Sahilo there doesn't want to lose a lot of time behind the top two either. So I think you just need to be very careful at this stage of the Grand Prix, not to lose the DRS. But Hilly, so the gap's 1.1 now. He's lost a bit of time towards the top 4, so he's lost the DRS towards the top 4 as they're left away to streak out for their own positions. But yeah, Henry, Sahilo, Bonpierre, Yavoon and 4-star, those guys do not have penalties, but Hilly's lost a lot of pace, and now the Red Bull driver of Henry, who's on 6-lap on hard compound tyres, gets ahead of Hilly then. So Hilly's lost a bit of pace there in the Racing Bull, as Henry now sets the quick slap to the Grand Prix, goes a bit wider towards turn 1, but scoops up nicely as there's a Ferrari who is ghosted as Yavoon Visser there. So I wonder if he made contact or lost it out of turn 2. Well, what a massive blunder for this race for Yavoon Visser and Kyle Scarlett as well. Maybe a possibility of a podium still there, but of course we've seen Yavoon go off the track multiple times, and that's why his penalties are self-inflicted. But Kyle, as well, following the routes of Yavoon, so brutal this track as well. I think turn 8 is the main problem. I don't really have many problems anywhere else around this track other than turn 8. Turn 2 sometimes, but you can be very careful towards turn 2. I take it cautiously, especially with being in DRS range with somebody. Here we go then, swooping through towards 9 and 10 we go. Of course, the 4th DRS zone, and now Sahilo's right at the back of Kyle. But I'm surprised about this because I thought both Mercedes would have swapped by now, but actually Kyle stays in P3, so I wonder what's happening between the two Mercedes boys here. I think Kyle should drop back unless, of course, he thinks he can get one penalty removed and stay in the fight. Who knows? So let's see what happens between both Mercedes here. Will there be any James. It's Kyle. It's James. Get out of the way, please. Or Kyle, Fernando, or Sahilu is faster than you. As we go down in towards turn 1, we go. All these 4 bunched up, of course. 2 of them have got penalties. 2 of them haven't either, which is Sahilu and Bompia. Now, those 2 will decide who will win the Grand Prix. But the problem is, though, Sahilu has got 2 cars in between himself and Bompia. That's the car Bompia has right now, having 2 cars in between himself and 4th place, his closest rival in the Mercedes there, in the championship fights. Bompia, of course, who won the Spanish Grand Prix and brought the gap back down in the championship after having 3 DNS prior towards this race. Bompia back to his winning spirits once again, as expected from the Dutchman. He's won 3 races so far this season, has Bompia, and here comes Yvonne Visser side by side as he chops across the front wing there of Bompia, but no contact made as he puts himself back into 1st place. Their main hope really is a podium, is Yvonne and Kyle, but Henry looking in the background, and Hilly as well in the background in P6 with no penalty there. Watch out for Hilly, he could be a force to be reckoned with if he has the pace or not, but we'll see if he could try and stick with these guys. If Henry can get the DRS range of 4th or 3rd, as once again the top 4 in your picture then. 11 laps left to go in the Grand Prix, and so far it is Yvonne Visser leading, but he does have that 3-second penalty. Bompia going for his 4th win of the season, and Sahilu is going for his 1st win of the season because he hasn't picked up 1 win just yet, and that's consistency for you. Being at the top of the standings, sometimes it's not about winning races, it's about winning the championship by consistency and being there all the time. Because I commentated for a race yesterday, as probably most of you know. The driver had 1 win only, and he's still in the championship. That's because of the raw resilience and consistency and work ethic he put in to turn up every single race and beat his closest rivals. Even 2nd place, the championship had 0 wins as well, despite being 5 points behind in the last race. So it's all about winning. It's all about grabbing the most you can. But of course, we all love to win. Here we go then, the Mercedes of Kyle pressurising Red Bull of Bompia, but Bompia's forced into a move as he goes side by side in towards 8 and 9 we go. So the Red Bull driver Bompia stays behind for the time being, then forced into a move by Kyle, but here comes the Hilly then. Will he dare go for an overtake as Mercedes teleports backwards into him, but luckily no broke in end plate there. I really hope Mercedes don't trip over their own shoes here because, or shall I say trainers, or laces shall I say. I really hope they don't trip themselves over because they're in a good position. And I think that Kyle needs to let Sahilu go and focus on Bompia. Bompia as well, trying to do his best to try and keep one Mercedes at bay and try and overtake the Ferrari as well. But here comes Kyle, not in towards 1. No way in towards 1. That's a risky move, and I dare say that move wasn't on. Now Sahilu swoops through, DRS wide open, and takes P3 away. I dare say that's self-inflicted on Kyle's there because that move wasn't really on in towards 1. I dare say. Bompia was always going to have the racing line and in towards turn 2 as well, but Kyle compromised into 1, and that's why Sahilu now up into P3. So looks like team orders aren't really orchestrated no more, as now they've sorted themselves out. But there's a yellow flag down there. It's Bosch Evans, who has gone for a spin and hit the wall in the same place where Vettel did in 2022. And here comes Mercedes of Sahilu then back on Bompia, and this should be an interesting fight between these two because they're the main people that can win the Grand Prix, Bompia and Sahilu. But Bompia now is ahead of Yvonne as Kyle slided through turn 9 there, almost lost it back in the car. But this race has absolutely flown by. There's 10 laps left to go, and Yvonne goes wide and picks up a 3-second penalty to go for his triples. Both Saubers are putting pressure on the McLaren driver, the Dutchman under massive pressure. But he sustains it really well and keeps both Saubers at bay for the time being. 13 drivers left in the Grand Prix, and so far we've got a battle between the 4 drivers. Half of them have got penalties, half of them haven't. But I don't know. Will Sahilu get his 1st for the season? Will Bompia take his 4th consecutive win? I wonder. Let's see what happens. Mercedes only the championship of Red Bull off P4. As we see a virtual safety car has been deployed, and that's because of Sauber, who has dropped it out on the final corner. That is 4-star, losing his whole wing there. Painful. Got to do the whole lap without a wing. But at least a virtual safety car is deployed. Of course, he was a safety car, but only VSC this time deployed. No yellow mark on the track. So a 4 lap there for 4-star, as Bosch Evans has retired in the pit lane, called it quits for the day. And thank you very much for taking part. So Nathan, Dory, Kenny and Bosch Evans there are your retirees. 12 drivers left in this race then to sort it out amongst themselves. I'm pretty sure that Hilly would have wanted, but Jamie gets a drive-through penalty for speed in the VSC, and here comes the top 3 then. Here comes Yvonne for the lead of the Grand Prix, leaving Bompia in the clutches of Sahilu there. But I think Yavoon could be a massive headache for one of these two. Depends where they are towards the latter stage of the Grand Prix. But look at this, the three-way fight for first as we head down in towards 11. Yavoon defended like a lion against Bompier and Sahilo as Bompier lost traction at the exit of turn 11, stays ahead of the Mercedes driver. But this is a heated battle between these guys. Super intense, and Henry's caught up as well in P5. Hilly's lost a lot of time. 3.2 seconds now is the gap between himself and Henry, so he's gone. But look at this, Sahilo side by side with Bompier on the main straight we go. Will he take P2 away or will he take P1 away? Let's see what happens in towards turn 1. He takes P2 away from Bompier. But it's all about, though, who's going to be aware on the last stage of the Grand Prix, who can place their car in the best possible place on lap 28 29. Because I think Yavoon might be a force to be reckoned with. An obstacle in the way, an outlier with a penalty there in first place. So, who's it going to favour? Is it going to favour Sahilo? Is it Bompier? I have no idea. It's all about who can play the strategy right, who can coordinate their attacks at the right time, who can also not get a penalty, because penalties could be handed out as well between those two. But it's all about Kyle as well. Can Kyle get ahead of Bompier as well and try and help his teammate be a really good to him? As we see Sahilo then rise to the back of the Ferrari's crack, but he's not going to go for it just yet. As you also have the DS at the back of Yavoon to keep Bompier at bay. And yeah, look at this. Red Bull, Mercedes. No, yeah, Red Bull, Mercedes, but the Ferrari in the way as we head down towards 11. So look at this then. Henry's joined the battle. Henry's on the back of this party. And he's putting Kyle under massive pressure. AJ Wuhan gets a 3-second penalty in this Grand Prix. As we exit the final corner and head on to lap 23 out of 29. So a few more laps left to go. And Sahilo has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. And he's up into first place now. Was that the best move to make? I'm not quite sure, but we'll find out if it has big consequences or not later in the Grand Prix. So Bompier ideally wants to clear Yavoon unless Yavoon gets back ahead of Sahilo. It's all about the chess pieces on the board being moved here. That's all it is, a high-speed game of chess. And it's all about where you are in the final few stages of this Grand Prix. Under high pressure, everybody wants to win, and two of you can win the Grand Prix because Bompier and Sahilo don't have a penalty, unless, of course, one of them, Henry, gets another penalty in this race. That's 6 seconds added onto his tally. No one's backing down in these corners here. This has been an absolute fantastic race. The lead being flung about, constantly changing hands with the DRS as well, constantly swapping and changing every single lap, but I wonder... It's going to be quiet before storm when the chess pieces start to move on the board between all these guys. Can Sahilo extend his championship? Can he sustain the pressure from Yavoon and Bompier? I wonder then what's going to happen. As now on to lap 24, there is 5 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. And so far, Sahilo who leads, but Bompier is on the back of Yavoon, but not going to go down the inside towards turn. Whoa, Yavoon there, claps the curb, and here comes Bompier now, side by side with the Ferrari driver down as we head down the second straight, but Yavoon, I think he applies a bit more battery and stays ahead. Oh, there's contact, Bompier has been hit, and more contact. That's with Henry as well. Henry's lost his end plates, massive drama, and Kyle outbroke himself. He tapped the back of Bompier, and Henry was caught with the incident too. Oh, basically, he's done about Valtteri Bottas in Hungary there when he hit the back of he took out both Red Bulls, and he's done exactly that as well as Kyle. The gap is 1.2 then, so can Bompier get back in the DRS range, or is it over for him? As we see now, Yavoon take the lead of the Grand Prix back away from Sahilo there. Could this be a massive goal hanger? Can this be a massive opportunity for Sahilo to now win this race with Bompier out of DRS range? This is a pivotal moment in the Grand Prix. Contact was made towards turn 3, and this could change everything. Can Sahilo and Yavoon now strike away as Bompier there trying to get back in the DRS range? He'll be so frustrated with the Mercedes in P4. Every right to be so, but Kyle just misjudged the braking zone and unfortunately put Bompier out of contention of winning the Grand Prix. But it all depends on the Dutchman's pace. Can the Dutchman get himself under a second as Henry's in the pit lane? Oh, poor Henry, who got a... He got end plate damage after that as well towards turn 3 as Henry's retired from the race. So I think Kyle has pissed off both Red Bulls. There's still 4 laps left to go in the Grand Prix. Anything could happen as Jamie gets another 3-second penalty in the Grand Prix as well. So that's the first piece of drama we've seen. But I wonder, will there be any more in the latter stages? Bompier, though, is just... The gap is 1.4, 1.5. But obviously on the second straights as well, he will lose that advantage on the lake. Sahilu, however, is 4/10 from the middle sector, so he's definitely improving there, pushing along with Mercedes. Of course, Sahilu won't thank Kyle for that, but of course that's not what you want to see at all. Unfortunately, I know it's not Kyle's fault, what it is, but yeah, it's one of them things. Really, things happen in the Grand Prix. We know it's not intentional between any of these guys here. It's just one of them things really that happens in league racing. Here comes Yavoon and Sahilu then. I think the best thing for Sahilu is not to fight Yavoon. Let Yavoon go, then trade DRS once again, because if you start squabbling in the breaker zones, then you're bringing Bompia back into contention. So try not to fight him too much and swap places when it's necessary, like midway down the straights, etc. Not in the breaker zone or corners, because you lose time towards Bompia. And that's where Bompia could capitalise and get himself back in the DRS range. Oh, there's a spinner! He's in the wall! Kyle has crashed out of the Grand Prix. There he is, destroying the Mercedes, and a safety car has been deployed. Can you believe it? With 4 laps left to go in the Grand Prix, a late safety car has been deployed. Wow. So, this completely turned things on its head now. And what's going to happen in the last few laps of the Grand Prix? Will these guys dare go for a pit stop, or should they stay out? I'm not quite sure. Kyle, though, done an Adrian Suto and dropped it in the final corner. And unlike Adrian Suto, he kept going, but Kyle retires from the race. So we're down to 10 people, and 4-star will eventually score points in P10. So I wonder, will these guys then go into the pit lane? Is it worth it? Oh, I have no idea, because sometimes I've seen it where people stay on all the tyres do have the benefit, but I'm not quite sure. What are these guys going to do? So I think Sahilu and Bompia, they've both lost their rear gunners. Kyle and Henry are out of the Grand Prix. Henry retired due to race quit with a broken end plate, and Kyle retired on the track, which has caused this second safety car. The race has been neutralised once again, and the trajectory has been shifted once again to a wider narrative, and I wonder how the script will end here in Australia. We had 3-4 safety cars last season, a very chaotic race when Nelly Safu won, but we've got about 2 safety cars here, but these guys are staying out then, as Bompia is in the pit lane then, and could that be the race winning move right there? I wonder for Bompia. Let's see if it is or not, as he slows well and truly down for the pit lane speed limiter. So the top 2 stayed out. The top 2 have stayed out indeed. The rest of the drivers are in the pit lane. I wonder if Sahilu there, not knowing what to do. I think it's just a bit of a, yeah, you're in no man's land. You don't know what to do. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but in the moment, you don't know what the best thing to do is. But there's 2 laps to go, and, well, after this lap, we're lap 28. So 2 more laps of racing left, and DRS, I think, will be enabled on the last lap. Well, this should be a roaring race around here. Can Bomber get his 4th win in a row? Can Sahilu get his 1st win this season? We're about to find out. The safety car has brought things into play once again. And what about Hilly? Hilly could get the podium too, because he hasn't got a second time penalty. 4-star. 4-star could jump up to P4, as long as he doesn't pick up any penalties or get involved in contact. This could be a massive, massive result for 4-star. I told you, who's got the least amount of penalties will get up there in in the top 5. Safety car is in at the end of this lap, so 1 lap behind the safety car only, and this should see a fascinating race towards the end of this Grand Prix with all these guys fighting out. But of course, Hilly, Bompia and Sahilu do not have penalties, so they're going to go for broke, these guys are. But at the same time, be very careful not to pick up that 1 warning, which could be a penalty, unless you're lucky, of course, and pick up none or 1. But I wonder then, Sahilu's got a lot of defending, the guy against the soft compound tyres then, but yeah, it's just sometimes the best thing to stay out there, but I've seen scenarios where staying out there has been better, but it depends though what other people do. It's just a very difficult call to make, and I think in hindsight Sahilu will look back, but in the moment he just doesn't really know what to do, because if he goes in and Bompy stays out, Yavoon stays out, etc., or other people stay out, then yeah, we'll see. But here we are towards the final corner, as once again Yavoon Visitor will lead them away, and the next lap is the penultimate lap. No DRS on the next lap. On lap 29, we should see DRS. But Bompia with the better soft compound tyres then puts the immediate pressure as we head down towards turn 1. Sahilu going on the right side to defend from Bompia as we head down towards the breaker zone, as Sahilu stays ahead. But Bompia with the better soft compound tyres should have the grip around the outside. to go down the inside in towards turn 3. And here we are side by side with the Mercedes driver heading down in towards Brickerstone. Bompier's up into P2. In the background, that's Glowstick versus Hilly. In towards 4-5 we go, bit of a squeeze there. Glowstick just stays on the track there as they barge wheels as Glowstick just tries to go up into P4 ahead of the Racing Bull driver as they still go side by side, but off goes the Racing Bull, and that was bound to happen because two of you can't go side by side through there, and one of them has paid the consequence. Where's 4-star? 4-star has rejoined quite a long way back. What happened to him? He's 10 seconds back, man. What happened? But here's Jerome around the outside of Hobbsy, but Hobbsy's not going to fall for that one. Hobbsy stays ahead and breaks late to the McLaren driver as Sahilu's right at the back of Bompier once again, heading down in towards turn 11. Sahilu just stays behind, but Bompier, you think ideally Bompier would be the one to win the Grand Prix. Jerome and Hobbsy going side by side with AJ just lurking in the background behind. As we see Jerome then up the inside towards 12, 13 and 14 we go in these sequence of cars. Does Hobbsy outbreak himself? He doesn't. Stays on the track there. But the main battle is between first, second and third. DRS is enabled on this last lap. Here we go. Here comes Jerome and Bompier in towards turn 1. But I wonder, let's see then. Bompier's up into first place. Sahilu just backs out of it for the time being. No DRS on the straight, member. But Glowstick's right at the back of number 2 as we head down towards 3 we go. Actually, when you go down the inside, he's level pegging with the Rebel driver as we head down towards 3, 4 and 5 we go. This is like a lot of mind games going on between none of these guys want to go forwards because they know the DRS is enabled on the back 2 straights then. Can Sahilu overtake Bompier? I wonder, as we now head towards 6 and 7 and 8 we go. As the battery will be used down the straight there. Bompier might be vulnerable. Let's see then. Here comes the Ferrari driver with the DRS wide open. He won't care about the Ferrari. His main target is the Mercedes. But look at Glowstick on the back of the Mercedes too. As we head down towards turn 9, the last thing that Sahilu needed was Glowstick to be behind him. But Bompier will not have DRS on this back straight. Can Sahilu, for the final overtaking possibility, go down the inside towards 11? Let's find out right now. It's too far back, and Bompier should seal the deal there against Jeroen Visser and Sahilu. Jeroen goes to P5 in the McLaren ahead of AJ Wuhan. But the last thing that Sahilu needed was Glowstick right behind him. As here we go, out of the final corner we go. As you see, Bompier right at the back of Jeroen Visser. Maybe I'll drag him towards the line. As we're going to go towards the line right now, it is Bompier who wins the Australian Grand Prix. What a fantastic drive from the Dutchman. And that pit stop really paid off as well to go on the soft compound tyres. As Sahilu will get defeated once again and will finish in P2. But it's his fourth podium of the season. Fourth win of the season, sorry, for Bompier. And Sahilu will pick up another podium as well to add to his tally as well. What a good race. Despite all the DNFs and safety cars, it's still been a good race, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one as well. It went absolutely quick as well, to be fair. Bompier, who won in Spain, returns back towards the top of the field as if DNF'd in Hungary of that difficult race, and also in Qatar where he just had no pace whatsoever after winning in Bahrain. Bompier is back on top, and that's the Dutchman I like to see. To be honest with you, I didn't even know he finished in third place. So let me have a look very quickly. The Ferrari actually moved, isn't it? Yeah, you moved finished in P3. Well, Bompier, he was really annoyed with one Mercedes after turn 3. Bounces back to win the Grand Prix. And I'm pretty sure that he thought his chances of winning were possibly over after that contact, but did a good job to recover from that. So where did 4-star go? Up to P8 then. So what happens to 4-star on the safety car restart? Hilly finished in P6, the Dutchman, as well in the Racing Bull. Started third, but didn't really have the race pace, did he? He kept dropping backwards after each segment of a safety car that came out. Just waiting for the drivers then to join the podium interviews. I'm pretty sure they want to talk to me if they want to or not. But if they don't, then fair enough. Bompier has joined the party, just waiting for Sahilu. ILT is Sahilu, but of course not an ILT anymore. It's been expired a long time ago. Sahilu. I can never spell his name right at all. And Jeroen Visser as well. Used to be, I think, in ILT, but moved over. I still can't spell his name. Jeroen Visser has joined, waiting for one more driver to be in the podium interviews, and we should get going very shortly. In fact, we go from P3 upwards because Jeroen, you finished with P3. So, Jeroen, mate, you had such good pace for the whole Grand Prix as well. And what an overtake from 4th to 1st into towards 9 and 10. Talk us through that, mate, because you had full commitment and you made the corner stick and you got past 3 of them to come into 1st place.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Boompje and within this also and Sealer, sorry. I had a blackout, but yeah, no, that overtake I was like, I started a bit behind because I didn't do a really good lap in quali, so I thought, like, yeah, why not just go for the lead? I had by far the most top speed of everyone, so like I thought if I'm in the lead or P2, I can definitely hold on to P1 or P2. So for me, it was just fine to get into the lead too, and from then on, yeah, I controlled the race, but. Yeah, the penalties were not in my favor today.
What was your thinking process? Did you just want to finish the race on the track in 1st place? Was that your main goal? Because I had no idea what you were going to do against Boompje and Sahilu. They both have a penalty free, but you had a penalty, so I'm not quite sure. I think you just wanted to finish the race on the track first, didn't you?
Well, I was just trying to like bump them up like a bit, so I was hoping Sahilu would pressure Boompje and maybe there could be some carnage between them, but also I was calculating like my gap to the P4 guy because I want to finish on the podium with the pen. So yeah, I was just trying to cause a bit of chaos, but well, keep it clean as well, and yeah, just have a nice fight because I had nothing to lose.
Yeah, but Ferrari though in the championship are quite close towards Mercedes as well. Even though Nathan did drop out of the race as well, I think one Mercedes retired. One Mercedes retired, which was Kyle, and one Ferrari retired, which was Nathan. So I think Mercedes might get a bit more points than you. But are you bothered about the constructors fight at all? Because there is 3 races left to go after this one. It is Miami, Las Vegas, and Belgium. Are you bothered about the constructors championship? Are you bothered about the drivers? I think you might be a bit too far behind in the drivers. But in terms of the constructors, how are you and Nathan getting along well here in Ferrari?
I'm not looking too much at it. I'm just trying to do the best I can every time I'm racing. But for next 3 tracks, I think are all good tracks for me. So Miami is my track, so I'm gonna win that. And Vegas, I'm quite decent at as well. But yeah, Spa a little bit, like I'm decent. So I'm gonna try to do the best I can for Ferrari.
That's what we're going to wish for, mate. And Nathan obviously needs to be there as well, because I know you and Nathan haven't really had the best teamwork and harmony this season, with a bit of controversy as well in the last few races, especially back in Qatar, and Nathan getting caught up in incidents as well. But, well, when you can put it together, you definitely put the results in, and I wish you guys the best luck in the next races.
Thank you.
Moving on to P2, that's Sahilo. So, in hindsight, mate, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but that was the wrong strategy, unfortunately for you. What was going through your head to that point? Because I know it's so difficult as a driver to judge, because you're in P2, you're at the top end of the field, and when the safety car comes out, sometimes it's a hard decision to make. It's a make or break strategy, really. But what was going through your head at the time?
I just thought with 2 laps left, people wouldn't bother with pitting. And to be honest, I didn't look at the map, seeing like the gaps and how few people there were left. So I just thought, your own is in boxing, I'll stay out as well. The hards felt fine. They didn't wear anywhere near as much as the mediums. So, but yeah, obviously they're uncool.
I remember you going for the ultra strategy. Was it hards to mediums or mediums to hards? Season before, when it was Russell versus Speedcon for first and second, you just started P2 the whole time. I think it was that race. Yeah, it was that race. But another podium finish here today in P2. I wonder though, how much did you pay Cal to take out both Red Bulls? No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Well, I don't have any money left. We'll just say that.
It must have been a very stressful race for you.
He then took himself out, and then so I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see what happened behind me, so I have no idea about the incidents. I haven't seen the onboard, so.
pace, though, pace-wise, has been incredible throughout the whole season. And once again, extended championship lead out in front with Bompia having his problems in the last few races as well in Qatar and Hungary. But your consistency has been mega. Despite that one race in Spain, I think you still extend the championship. But Kenny dropped backwards because he retired, and Bompia might go over to P2. So with 3 races left to go, 2 of them double headers in Las Vegas and Miami, and 1 of them in Belgium. How do you think you're going to go well there? Is the championship starting to get your man a little bit?
I don't know if I'd say I've been consistently fast. I've been consistently average. I haven't won a race. Miami and Vegas worry me because I haven't driven them on this game, and I didn't like Miami on the previous game or Vegas. But Spa is always a good track. But no, I don't. I'm not really thinking about the championship now.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you've got no wins this season. But I've known in other leagues where people pick up no wins or even 1 win, and they still manage to find a way to win the championship. But it's just that the consistency and the less mistakes as well, and turn up every single week is crucial and key. But yeah, wish you the best races in Vegas, Miami, and Belgium, mate. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you, mate.
Moving on to Bompia, the Dutchman, who wins once again after, he joined, I think, in Season 4, but had a long period of not winning any races until last season. And, Bompia, you've definitely made a statement this season after picking up your 4th win of the season as well. And despite having 4 wins and still having none, you're still P2 in the championship. But is the championship starting to come alive for you now in the last 3 races for you?
Yeah, that's definitely my goal. I mean, I've been either really shit or pretty good, so I just need to make sure that my last 3 races are all pretty good, and then need to beat Chihuahua every race, and then we'll see.
And what happened to you in Hungary and Qatar as well? Because obviously, and Baku, you didn't have the best races there either. Well, you didn't return.
I wasn't there, but yeah, Qatar was shit. Hungary, I was shit as well. Just underprepared, and then fucked it up.
Sorry about the swearing there, but how do you feel for the Las Vegas Grand Prix and Miami? Is it a good strong track for you? Do you like the track, or is it one of those tracks where is it just hope and pray really for the best result?
Yeah, for the doublehead in the USA, and I don't know. Especially Vegas isn't a good track for me, but then the last race at Belgium, that's pretty good. So yeah, I just hope it would be a little bit more comfortable than today, because it was quite difficult to manage to win this. But yeah,
high pressure situation as well towards the last laps of the Grand Prix. What was your thinking going towards the last lap? Were you trying to let Juventus to go through to get up the DS at the back of him to keep Sahila behind?
Yes, exactly. I just know that if Chihuahua had enough DRS in the second sector, he would fly past me as well. And I didn't really care if he wouldn't got past me because of his penalty, and he's not really in that championship fight that much. But I really didn't want Chihuahua to get past, so that's why I wanted to be in P2. So then I knew it would have been fine. But luckily the softs saved me, and managed to win it on track even as well.
And what was your thinking as well in towards turn 4 with that contact with you, Kyle, and Henry? It took out Henry, he retired in the pit lane. But yeah, what was going through your mind? Were you annoyed? Were you able to get back in control quickly and calm down?
I was definitely annoyed. I mean, getting taken out. I felt like, especially in the corners, high speed, I was the fastest today. And those were the crucial corners to make sure to not lose too many positions or to overtake people. So yeah, getting taken out, losing DRS, then you're never gonna get back in. Luckily, Kyle made the ultimate sacrifice to redeem himself and cause another safety car.
Yeah, definitely redeemed himself on that one, so no penalties should be coming his way either. It's a level playing field now. But yeah, well done today, Bob, here on your win. And don't worry, I'll take out Kyle when we go Costa again in Dotana Tamworth, so I'll take him out for you, don't worry.
Cheers, man.
You're welcome. But yeah, we're right off there then. The next race is at Vegas and Miami for the double header at the US Grand Prix. Then the final race of the season, the week after at the Belgian Grand Prix. We should conclude to the end of this game finally, because all the leagues I commentate are done. But unfortunately, I've got to stay on this game because of this league. But hopefully, yeah, we get on to the F1 game, new F1 game very shortly, which does have a bit of high expectations. But we'll see when it does come out or not. Well, it should come out, obviously. But we'll see you all later then, and have a good race. Well, enjoy the race at the Imola Grand Prix this weekend. Will it be Verstappen, Norris or Piastri? We'll find out.